Yeah, I think so, actually. So we are joined by Tyson, aka Tyrex Training, right, on Instagram. And now, all of a sudden, where are you? Where can we find you other than Instagram?
So yeah, I've uploaded a couple videos on TikTok now. So I'm playing with the cool kids.
Big time, big time. Awesome. And actually, when you told me that, I went over to TikTok for the first time, and I don't know, I have zero followers, zero posts, or maybe I have some followers, zero posts. But I was like the video, very few things get me on TikTok, but I was over there checking it out. So good job. I'm proud of you for that. Um,
Thank
so
you.
anyway, you recently, well, not recently, how long ago did you join Show Up Fitness? Because you kind of just like stormed on the scene, like spitting out all these facts about anatomy and physical therapy stuff. And I'm like, who is this guy? So tell us a little bit about how you found Show Up and how long you've been with us.
Okay. Yeah. So I started contemplating becoming a personal trainer back in the spring of 2022. And so I bought the bundle. I think it was $1,800 bundle. And my wife was like, yeah, you might as well just get the nutrition too. I mean, you might as well go
NASM?
all in. NASM. Yep. NASA might as well get the bundle, you might as well get the nutrition and the personal training and go for it, invest in yourself and all stuff. I was like, okay, let's do it. So I got it and I started studying it, during the summer. And before long, I was just like, what am I doing? And why is this taking so long to move forward? Like I didn't feel comfortable. I took all the little quizzes, I wasted my time. And finally I just came across YouTube and I was like, you know what? I need to figure out a quicker way to do this because this seems like I'm just running my tires through the mud, you know what I mean? So then I looked up and I found Chris and I heard him talking about how to pass NASM. I was like, okay, well, I'll take those tools to pass. And went ahead probably like 2 or 3 weeks later after studying all this stuff. I never bought a study guide. I just watched a lot of his YouTube videos and tried to put the two together with the book and ended up passing and started training. But then Chris had sold me on everything that he would talk about, like the fundamentals with anatomy, progressions, regressions on exercise programming, and then like the customer service aspect, which I really had no idea like how to approach it when it came to helping out a client and working with the
Yeah.
public. Because my story was I worked in food science laboratories for a long time, and you're around the same people every single day, and you get to know these people, and you're not really dealing with new personalities or new issues. It's just kind of the same rigmarole over and over and over. So I really took note of that, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to get into Show Up, and that's what I did. And that was probably about a month or two into my personal training. Actually, no, take that back. This was like a month or two after I passed my NASM, because the
Mm-hmm.
local YMCA said you need your NASM in order to train here. And I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll get it done. And I started in August of 2023, and that's kind of when I started to, start learning and studying and start getting involved and, got into Show Up.
And now you're teaching with Show Up. So like in a year, essentially, from start to finish, you're an instructor now. Like that is insane. That is in freaking insane. But it's just a testament to how hard you studied and absorbing everything. And not only that, studying and absorbing everything is one thing, but you're actually putting it into practice. You're training clients, and that to me is the difference maker. Would you agree with that?
Oh, for sure. Training clients was huge. The nice thing about going to the YMCA that I went to is that they already had clients waiting for me. So my training manager said, here you go, take these people, you can train them. I said, okay, let's go. I really didn't know exactly what I was doing, but right off the bat, I probably had like maybe 5 or 6 clients, and slowly it just started building and building. I tried to take everything that I could, within reason as far as my 40-hour allotment would go, because there it was just a per hour, just a
Mm-hmm.
regular W-2 type job, and you didn't make any money off commission. And that was one thing where it was tough, but Chris would always say, look at the bigger picture. You're trying to grow your business, you're trying to grow your brand, and you need to take all comers and you need to learn. And I looked at it as a paid internship is what it was, and getting those
Right.
reps in really, really helped, and just putting things into action, no matter how hard it was. Maybe even now, just now teaching for Show Up. it's been a wild ride. And every single day I put myself into a position where I'm scared shitless. And
Yeah.
it's worked so far. It's worked so far.
That's how you learn. That's how you learn. You know, a lot of trainers, and especially the people that we teach that haven't trained anyone, you know, or have trained very few people, you learn so much faster when you just kind of dive in. And, you know, I always tell people, like, listen, you might think that you had a bad session or whatever, but your clients, they don't know that, right? They don't think that you've had a bad session, right? As long as they're showing up and you're showing value and you're showing that you care, I guarantee that they've had a good session. So you, trainers want to have everything right before they start. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You're not going to have everything right before you start. So that's great. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into that a little bit later, but you've always been an athlete, right? When did you start playing sports?
Oh man, ever since I could remember, I had a baseball bat in my hand. My dad loved baseball. Like I said earlier before we started this, he was a huge Yankee fan and loved baseball.
Yeah.
He played baseball for some local softball teams. And I always remember going to those games and watching him play. And, I'd be off the side with those big red bats with the barrel. It's like, 6 inches thick. And all of his buddies would throw me the wiffle ball. And I just started playing. And ever since then, he would teach me and he coached me in baseball ever since I was probably like 6 or 7 years old. So T-ball, minor leagues,
Okay.
little league. He coached me
Yeah.
all the way up through Babe Ruth. And I just loved it. I was an only child and I needed something to do. And when I was home, I would take a ball and I'd throw it against the wall. And that's how I learned to love sports and eventually got into basketball. And that became my first love in high school. But and I still love basketball now. But it just started at a young age, just challenging myself, trying to get better, and finding those moments where you can shine. And it feels good to make some good plays when you're an athlete. It's this feeling that I've never
Sure.
really got anywhere else than sports.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that being said, when did you kind of transition into more of like lifting focus and kind of not, not so sports focused?
Mm-hmm. Well, I always wanted to get better. So even at the age of like 13 or 14, I'll never forget my mom had these old VHS tapes, and this dude's name was Tony Little, and I'm not sure you'd have to be at least
Oh
40
yeah.
years old to know
I
who that was.
remember. Yeah.
But he had his little leotards on, his little stocky dude, and he had all this energy, and he had these little weights, and he would do these tricep kickbacks for a minute and a half, and he would do these squats for a minute and a half. So I'm sitting there in my living room like doing this stuff, for 20, 30 minutes a day, thinking that I'm really getting better. But it taught me a little bit of dedication and got me into the weightlifting aspect of it. I just learned on my own in high school. I would always try different things, and it actually kind of led, I think, to overtraining because I had a scholarship to play basketball in college, and my knees just were a wreck by the time I made it to my freshman year. I went to physical therapy, and lo and behold, they could not help me. So I scrapped it all. I went to Oregon State, as you can see back here. I got my beaver banner
Yeah.
here, and that's where I just started lifting kind of on my own. In the rec center. You know, funny thing is, my knees started to get a little bit better as I took some time off, and so I'd play basketball and lift weights, play basketball and lift weights, and just loved it. Loved the way I felt, when I was done, and just continued with it. And things changed after that. When you get out of college, you stray away from it. I got to about 225, 230, tore my Achilles. All these things happen. Life happens. You have kids and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I knew that I had to get back into it, or I was going to be just another dad that never played with their kids, never got out, never did anything with them. And so at
Yeah.
about the age of 30, I said, you know what? I'm gonna have to figure this out for myself, because I would go to doctors and they would give me orthotics for my foot. Cause I had a lot of pain in my lower extremities after my Achilles tear. Funny thing, it was on the opposite side. I had a lot of Achilles tendonitis for years, and I was like, I got to figure this thing out. And then I just kind of went to a deep dive through my 30s and trying to figure things out. And I was like, you know what? If I can figure this out and help myself, then why not do this and help other people too? Because I felt like I was in a job that really didn't link up with my passions. And so I was like, you know what? Eventually, I'm going to do this. I'm just not sure when. It took quite a while, but finally, a couple years ago, we were able to do it. And it's been a wild ride ever since, but I'm loving every second of it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. So That's interesting. Now, knowing what we know now, and you, of course, being an anatomy instructor and a trainer, maybe looking back, you're like, well, maybe my ligaments and tendons weren't strong enough to handle all of the things that I was doing. So that's interesting. And you already kind of answered my question about what was the deciding factor to switch careers. It wasn't your passion doing. You said you worked at a food laboratory. I knew you were a chemist, right?
Yeah, so I was a nerd with a lab coat, walking around, doing all these little tests and figuring out, chemistry, fat percentage, moisture percentage, fat percentage on like cheese. I worked in the meat industry for a while. I saw some interesting things on a slaughter floor. We don't have to talk about that right now, but worked in
I
a
like steak. I kind of want to keep it that way.
yeah, for sure. It might turn you into a vegetarian. But then I worked in soil science labs and all this stuff, and it was something that I had to do because when I went to school, I thought I wanted to be an optometrist. I thought I was a smart guy. And I had a decent GPA in high school. And my parents always thought, you need to be either a doctor or a lawyer. And I was like, well, okay, I'll choose optometry because I feel like, I can. I never really put any
Yeah.
thought into it at all. And so I
Yeah.
barely got out of college with like a 2.8 or a 3 GPA. And then I was like, now what? And moved to a town with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and we struggled there for a couple of years. And then finally, I got a job in a lab where I made the most money that I had ever made. And then the rest is history. We started a family, and then you're just kind of stuck in that situation for a while. I'm just thankful that I
Yeah.
came across Show Up, and I don't think I'd even be training as long as I have now without the support of Show Up community. That's for sure.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. Definitely. So I agree with that. That was kind of your saving grace and your gateway to, pursuing your passion. So we're all super, super grateful for Chris and Show Up. Um, so we're going to kind of switch gears here. You talked about starting a family. So how do you manage you work at a gym and you have kids and you have a wife and you have all these things and you have this farm. How do you manage all of that while working full time training a bunch of people?
Yeah, so I've thought of this question for a little bit, and all I gotta say is you don't. You really don't. You just
Yeah.
kind of give yourself a little bit of grace. In the past, working in a job where I felt like I was just kind of doing the day in day out thing, 9 to 5, and not really feeling any sense of I don't know, any sense of worth or like passion for what I'm doing. I give myself a lot of grace now because in the past I hadn't. And so you just do what you can do. And the nice thing about, lifting and training yourself is you just work on the fundamentals of like being the best you can be. So you train hard, but you recover. You make sure that you eat correctly. And when you do all those things, you put it all together, it just makes your output a little bit higher. And so I just try
Oh
and do
yeah.
just try and do the best you can and just focus on sleep and recovery too. And one thing that's really helped me is I have one day where I don't really do anything as far as like work goes, and maybe that would fit into what other people like to do, that I could go all the time. But on Saturdays I pretty much just focus on family and just things that I'm thankful for. And I'll take
Right.
walks with my kid. Like yesterday, I went and trained my son at the gym because he wanted to. He wanted to check out the gym for the first time. So this is something new that's
Nice.
really, really made me happy. He's 15 years old right now, and he's
Oh,
finally starting
there's
around.
nothing. Yeah. There's nothing that makes you happier than your kid's like, I want to go work out. You'll make it happen no matter what you're doing. Yes, we'll go work out.
Oh yeah, and that's how I was like, yeah,
Yep.
when do you want to go? Let's do this. And then I come home and
Yeah.
take my 7-year-old to the park and stuff like that. So that's kind of the day where I can kind of catch up with family. And my family knows that. They know that, once Saturday comes around, it's kind of like a Sabbath. We make sure and just focus on, kind of being together and hanging out. And it seems to recharge the batteries and set you up for the next week. Because when the week starts, it's just crazy. Things are
Yeah.
happening
Oh,
all
I
over the
know.
place.
It's just go, go, go. I totally understand that. So you just recently switched gyms. You worked at how many gyms? Two? This is your second one. What kind of prompted that change?
Well, I was working at the Y, and like I said before, I labeled that as a paid internship, so I knew that that wasn't going to last forever. I got my reps in. I met
Okay.
a lot of people. I was able to kind of work on my people skills and just meet people. And but after a while, I had the opportunity to work at another gym, a small little boutique gym, with someone that was a trainer at the Y also. she asked me if I want to come on and train people off to the side. I was like, sure. So about, I would say 8 months in, 9 months in after the Y, I had the opportunity to do that. And that was last spring. And so I started doing that kind of off to the side and working people in that way. And then one of my clients introduced me to another gym owner here in town. And I went and met her, and I really liked their gym. And it was a little bit bigger, so I had a little more opportunity. And so I got hooked up with them, and I've been training there and that small boutique gym. So I mix and match. So for my clients that like the bigger gym, that type of atmosphere, loud music, stuff like that, I'll train them there. And then my clients that like the small, kind of quiet, intimate boutique gym, I'll train there. So right now I'm training at 2 gyms.
Okay, I love that. I think that's really cool. I kind of have the same thing where I've got my group of people that are, more the group fitness classes, and then of course the one-on-one clients. So that's really cool that you could cater to both. That's awesome. So, what advice would you give someone who wants to start a career in the personal training industry?
First off, know that it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to put in some time, and but at the same time, you're going to have to put in time, but it's going to be worth it because think about it. You get to be in a gym all day, and
yeah,
I don't know, for someone like me, just being in a gym, like I'm in my element. And that's great. Like I've been in places where I don't want to work. I don't want to be, stacking onion boxes all day, hard labor, working in labs where it's the same thing every day. When you can go into a gym and kind of be free to do what you want, there's no better profession, in my opinion, than being in a gym all day and just being with people, helping people out, because you don't really realize the value that movement and strength training provides until you see someone come out of pain that's been chronically debilitated for years or maybe even their whole life. Who knows? It's just
absolutely.
It's so valuable, and I think that there's so much room to grow in a gym. So make sure and learn the fundamentals, though, because you're not going to be able to succeed if you don't know the fundamentals of anatomy, programming, and those people skills. In order to survive and feed your family, you're going to have clients. So you need to understand how to program for everybody, not just yourself. And you're going to have to understand anatomy and, the business skills too that we teach here at Show Up, how to link up and network with other people, and learning your anatomy will help you with that.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And, being with physical therapists, it's weird how this industry has taken therapists and trainers and they butt heads. It should be a symbiotic relationship. And I think
we work together.
Trainers to work together, I think for trainers to create that symbiotic relationship, they need to be educated. Most trainers just don't educate themselves on the right things. They just kind of do their battle rope intensity. Let's go, let's grind. And that gets exhausting after a while. And I don't see how trainers can do that for a long period of time. I definitely couldn't.
No, it's especially when you know better. Like I feel like trainers that do that don't know any better, and that's unfortunate. But that's what we're here to do, to try to change it. So we're doing what we can. It's an uphill battle, but we're here for it because we know how valuable it is. So, all right. So this is the question I've been waiting to ask, because I'm always interested with guy trainers who have like female clients or whatever. Same thing with, female trainers who have guy clients. Have you ever had a client make an inappropriate comment or advance towards you? And if so, how did you handle it?
Oh, this is hilarious.
This is where you said it gets good.
This is funny because this will throw it for a curveball, because all of my female clients have been really good. So I did have a male client that was one of my first clients coming in, and I thank him because he taught me a lot about interpersonal communication and all these things. But he was one of my best clients. He was a very flamboyant guy and loud and would work hard. And I really thought that I had helped him through some issues, because he was kind of a bro bodybuilder and he would be stuck on the hammer strength machines. He had a lot of shoulder issues, and we slowly worked him to create this different range of motion. He was getting stronger. Everything was going great. And he was actually my favorite client because, we had a decent relationship. We would check in, we'd text each other. He was all in. Like he wanted it, he wanted to get better and get strong, and he was finding ways to get pain free and all this stuff. Well,
That's
one
crazy.
night, probably after about training him for like 5 or 6 months, he sent me a, oh man, he sent me like a video of him and another guy doing some stuff. And he said, now this is rated R for all of you out there, but he sent me a text after saying, watch me dominate this guy. And that image, like now, now that time has passed, thank goodness for time, right? But after
Yeah.
all this time had passed, it's kind of out. But that image was seared in my brain for a week or two. And then 2 days later was when his next session was. He texted me, he's like, we can't train anymore. I'm done. I'm like, okay. And that was that. But it was one of those things where I just learned like you never know what to expect.
Yeah,
Anything
you
can
gotta have
happen.
boundaries.
And yeah, you got
Yeah.
to have boundaries. And, I talked to my personal training manager at the time. I told him what happened. Evidently, he came in like a day or two later, canceled his membership, went on to do different things. And mind you, we live in a small area, small community, like 35, 40,000 people. So it's not like I haven't seen him since, but it's not like you wouldn't necessarily maybe see him out and about. So it's just an uncomfortable
Right.
situation that I went through, and I had to kind of persevere for a couple of weeks before I could kind of get to a point where I was like, okay, because to be honest with you, for the first week or so, I wanted to find him. I wanted to punch him right in the face. I mean, that's what it was.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's kind of not the same thing, but man, when this used to be a thing, I guess, when guys would just send you a picture of their junk, I'm like I would literally, and that's happened a few times, like way back when, not recently, not within the last like 5 to 7 years, but I would feel like veins in my neck starting to pulsate because I would get so mad. I would be like, "What on earth did I give you any signs or signals that would tell you that this is what I wanted?" Like I swear to God, I would be like instant block. Like I don't care who you are, but just it kind
No one
of
wants
pushes
to see
things
that.
to like a what?
I was just gonna say,
You said what?
nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that.
Nobody. No, like I'm sorry. Yeah. So anyway, but it is you have to set those standards up front, and I think of course we all text our clients and things like that, but one crazy night out drinking and let go of inhibitions and they text you or whatever, you're just like, okay, this just got really weird. So keeping things professional, is always key when you're a trainer because we're you see each other all the time at the gym and you're having to like touch people and things like that and you're usually sweaty and wearing athletic clothes and things can kind of get a little blurred if you don't keep it professional. So yeah. But that's a very interesting story. That's not what I expected. So
Well, it taught me.
thanks for
It
sharing.
taught me. Yeah, to be honest, it really taught me how to work with public relations too, because I had to explain this to my training manager. I had to explain it to the human resource manager. I explained to everybody in the gym because, like, you're on stage when you're training somebody, and he was like the best person to have on stage because he'd be like, he'd do a set and he would call out, "Man, this trainer, like, he was one of my best promotional people that I ever had
You would
because he'd
draw
be like, man, this
attention.
guy's gonna, he'll get you, blah blah blah," and like he would like bring everyone together. So I appreciated that aspect of it, but in the end, it just ended up being something really, really awkward. But all in all, it's just a learning experience that you have to take. You have to take the wins with the losses.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's a learning experience if you allow it to be. So that's great. All right. Just to wrap things up, I've got a little lightning round questions. Okay. So you can only pick one for the rest of your life. All right. So you have to pick this or that. All right. You ready?
All
You
right,
can
I'm
take
ready. I'm
like
sitting down.
you can take like 5 seconds to decide if you need to. All right. Okay. So starting with number one, squat or deadlift for the rest of your life. Only pick one.
Oh, deadlift for sure.
All right,
It's
fish
so
or
much
chicken?
so much more fun. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, fish all the way. Fish all the
All
way.
right. I think I know the answer to this already. Dogs or cats?
Dogs. It's my
Knew
dogs.
it.
My dog.
Push-ups or pull-ups?
Pull ups.
Okay. Read a book or watch TV?
Read a book. I gotta say, I
Oh,
probably have.
really?
Yeah,
I'm
I
surprised.
probably. This is sad too because this is something I got to work on with myself because my wife loves movies and we have a movie night every like Saturday night or Sunday night that we just started recently because she loves movies and I've probably watched in the past year maybe like 3 movies total. And so,
That's more than me.
I mean, maybe, yeah, maybe it's something I need to work on. Maybe I should pick movies, so I'll do it. But I don't know. I've just kind of fallen out of favor with a lot of movies that I've seen. I always come away leaving from it thinking like, man, I really wasted my time right there. So, in
Yeah,
books are so impactful, and I just found so much benefit in reading a good book for sure.
absolutely. Yeah,
I'm
that's I can't sit
I'm
still
getting old
long
though,
enough to
so
watch a
that's
movie.
the way it is.
Yeah. I generally can't sit still long enough to watch a movie. I'm up doing something, washing the dishes, laundry,
Oh,
vacuuming
my
in the middle
my
of the
wife, she
movie.
gets upset. Oh yeah, some will come up in my head like, you got to do this, so I'll get up and do something, and that's why it's hard when I go to a movie theater because you have to sit your ass in that chair for like 2 hours, and it's just too much
Yeah,
for me. I start
yeah.
squirming.
The last movie I saw at the movie theater was actually really good. I think it was Toy Story 4. So it was like the latest Toy Story, which was really, really good. Like I was not disappointed that I sat through that movie. I think I fell asleep for like 10 minutes, but I woke up and the rest of it was really good. So
Hey, good for
yeah,
you. Hey, you got to challenge yourself. Whatever that challenge is, you got to challenge yourself sometimes, right?
yeah. Well, that's my thing. If I sit down and I'm not doing something, I'll fall asleep. Like legit, I will fall asleep. So I've got to stay moving all day long. I'm actually surprised I'm not asleep. Well, you're interesting enough that I'm not asleep right now. All right. So, like, all right. So you either work out at home or at a gym for the rest of your life. Pick one.
Oh, for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
how much equipment do you have? Can I ask
You
a
can always
clarifying
buy more.
question
You can always buy more equipment.
about?
You have a home gym, what you have now.
Oh man, that's tough. That's a tough one, actually. I'm pretty torn on this one because actually a lot of my lifting in the past like 10 years, 15 years has been at home. But there's nothing better than going into a gym that has energy and getting a good lift in. So I'm gonna have to say gym just for the energy. It has to be
Okay.
that way. Because at home, I can do it, I can get it done, but sometimes it's harder at home and there's too many distractions. So I'm gonna go with the gym.
Okay. Yeah, it's not the same at home. All right, a stationary bike or a rower for cardio equipment for the rest of your life.
uh, Stationary bike or rower. I don't. I think I've only done cardio on a rower one time. It was during the challenge that you and I did. It was okay. Maybe I could get used to it, but I like that. I like the stationary bike. We're going stationary bike. I have one. It's an
Okay.
old beater. Let's go stationary bike.
Okay. Stationary bike, love it. Bike that goes nowhere. I love when people pay so much money for a Peloton. I'm like, it doesn't go anywhere. What are you doing? All right. Carbs or fat? You have to pick one for the rest of your life.
I'm usually a big fat. So just to put this into context, probably like I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, I went into the big keto thing, and it changed the way that I eat by adding in healthy fats. So I appreciate that aspect of it, but you can't beat carbs. Carbs just taste too damn good. So I'm going carbs.
That's true. Okay. All right. And that's actually it. I had another one, but I couldn't think of this, or I couldn't think of the that portion. I was like, not be able to scratch your own back or not be able to touch your toes for the rest of your life. And I thought that one was kind of stupid. But now that it's there, go ahead and pick one.
I'll get me able to touch your toes. I
Okay,
can
you
I
can't
can
hit.
get up on I can get up on something and scratch my back. So, but I still want to be able to touch my toes. That's for sure.
Okay, perfect. Love
It's all about
that.
that
All right,
mobility.
anything you want to, what?
I said it's all about that mobility.
That's it. That's right. Mobility is key for sure. Awesome. Well, this has been great. I'm so excited to see, what you do. You're teaching anatomy now, and that is on Fridays at what time?
At noon Pacific time.
Okay, so Friday, I probably need to come to class, because I don't even know what time it is. But yeah, so Fridays at 12. So you can catch Tyson teaching anatomy level 1, which is, it's totally necessary for these trainers to know. So yeah, just hammering that point. Anyway, we are offering a 14-day trial with Show Up Fitness. So if you're all kinds of stuff and new stuff coming up. If you're interested in joining us, just comment below or send us a DM on Instagram and we will get you in. So it's been awesome chatting with you today, Tyson. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. We got to get a flex in, right?
Yeah, always.
Flex in.
My arms are freaking huge. Awesome.
Thanks, Katie.
Yeah, thank you.